Hey y'all, welcome back to First Comes Love, Then Comes Marriage podcast. My name is Lindsey Jackson.
And I'm Aaron Jackson.
I know, I be throwing you off with the full name.
Yeah, I think this is the first season you did it.
I'm going to do it because I think it flows. It's an LJJ type of situation. Okay, so we are season 6, episode 2.
Yeah.
Giving you the conversations that our children will really want to know about us. And things that will, help you as well. And the question for this episode, let's dive right in, is how did you know you were in love? You know how kids, it's like, mommy, daddy, like, when did you know you were in love? When did you know? How did you know you were in love? That's a good question.
How did I know I was in love? I think I took the first one, right? The first episode. Mm-hmm. You could start.
Okay. And you know what? As I posed this question, I'm thinking they're going to say it hoping that it's to me or to you, like to each other. But technically, we could have had other loves before us. Like, how did you know you were in love? How did you know you were in love with mommy? How did you know you were in love with daddy? Or just how did you know you were in love? That's a whole nother question.
Yeah.
But actually for us, you were my first love. Well, first,
I was gonna say, isn't dance like your first love?
You were my first male love. Can I say that? Because technically, I fell in love with God first, and I remember that. I remember being like, oh my gosh, yes. And then I remember loving dance. I don't know if I fell in love with dance, but yes, that's another love in my life. But yes, you're my first love. So how did I know I was in love with you?
You know what? I'm gonna make it a little bit more specific.
Okay.
Just because love is kind of like, let's narrow it down. How did you know like this was real?
This was the one.
I'm not even saying the one, like, because some people could be like in real love and then it doesn't work out. And then you might have to find another one. But how did you know like this was a real thing instead of like a fad or I like heavy like like just things like, oh, okay, this is my flavor, but how did you know like the substance of it?
No, because we've talked about this before. We've talked about puppy love. We talked about like, what does love mean? Love in action form. We've talked about these things. And I will say the moment that I knew that this was real love, that I was willing to go the distance of the love, was actually when distance was put in between us.
Oh.
So when we were dating in high school. We were heavy. You were picking me up from school every day, and I would see you just for like quick moments in between school and dance. So yeah, I was dedicated to dance, but I knew I wanted to see you. Like, I would look forward to leaving Hamilton High School and getting to you so we could have these makeout sessions, essentially. So there's, it was that hormone type of like, fill me up. I like you, all the things. And, I would see you on Sunday. And even when we're at church, the elevator doors would close. And I'm like, I couldn't get enough of you. But then in senior year, I applied to only New York schools. And I remember being like, I'm going to be a dancer. And I'm going to be a dancer in New York. We've talked about this before. And then I got accepted into one school, and it got me to New York. And I remember my mentors at the time, my dance mentors, and people were like, you know what? This is not real. And if it is real, you'll see your way back. But take a break. Y'all need to break up. So we had an agreement.
Oh, yeah.
That as soon as I got to New York, we were no longer together.
Yeah.
This is what we talked about. So you drove me to the airport with my mom and my mom's friend, and they were taking me to college.
I was so dramatic.
It was dramatic. My dad didn't even take me, but my mom, and we were at the airport, and I'm crying.
Your dad did take you, because I was following. I remember
took me, but he didn't take me to New York.
Yeah, because I followed your dad. It was my first time following your dad because I wasn't in the car with your parents.
Nope.
And your dad was driving recklessly.
probably like, get rid of this
And
boy.
I almost got a
This is
ticket.
our
I
time.
remember I almost got a ticket because after I gave you a hug, because I parked at LAX.
Yeah.
And I didn't park in the parking structure. I parked like where the party was. And the guy was about to give me a ticket. I was like, I'm leaving now. I lost the love of my life.
I was like, this is what we said. And I knew, I was like, as soon as I said goodbye to him, we are done. We are done. And sure enough, like, you know, that's our airport story. I'm crying. I'm sad. I don't remember my mom saying anything because she probably didn't have any words for me. But I got to New York and, you know, I got settled into my dorm rooms and we were supposed to be done. And I was like, that's my best friend. That's my friend. So we would talk to each other. We were calling each other. And I was like, I love him. I can wait. We talking to each other, and then we would see each other when I would come home, you know, for holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But it was real when I was like, and I remember talking to you when I came back was it Christmas or something?
Yeah.
Something. I think I came back from my grandfather's retirement. And I was like, this is real. I love you. And we got back together. And then once we got back together,
we was never really apart.
We were never really apart, but we said, like, I didn't call you my boyfriend anymore.
No, like if yeah.
But for me, that was the moment that I knew, I said, this is real. This is real love. I can wait for him. I want him to come visit me. I want to go visit him. I can focus on what I need to focus on and still be with this person. I am really in love, and I prayed for you and I prayed for us. And I was like, okay, God, like I wasn't looking for nobody else. And I think that that's another moment where it's like, okay, date around, you know. And I remember
say that out loud.
Talking to one person. Some guy came to visit. I don't even remember. I don't even know
Came to visit.
Like it was a dorm room, but it was such a random. It was like movie night in the dorm rooms or something. And I was talking to this person.
I have never heard this story.
It was because it was so insignificant. It was some black male. And
was this at Marymount?
This was at Marymount. And
wow.
I remember, and I was just like, I can't talk to this, you know. And it wasn't like I wasn't open. You know, but it was just like I wasn't interested in talking to anybody else, and I'm okay with that. And I knew that that you were the one. That's how I knew that I knew that I knew. I
have never. Well, you know what? That's so funny how arrogant I am to be like, to know how fine you are, to know how in shape you are.
I'm a dancer. I'm young.
To know that, like, and you Cali swag, that no guy, but also know how focused you were. So I'm like, Lindsey ain't got time for no guys. For a guy to come over movie night, I didn't hear about none of this.
I was a freshman in college, and then when I went to the others, it doesn't matter.
No, it didn't matter at all.
But
and which is funny because at the time, that's when the youth church started taking off.
And that was your era.
And and then I was in leadership, but not only was I in leadership, I was like on the stage. You
were the talent, and you know people love talent.
Yeah. And so whenever there was a girl, you were always mentioned. And which is interesting because even to this day, like one of the first things that it's been for years, one of the first things I always do when people know me, within like the first time meeting me, they know that I'm married. Like it's I mean, besides the ring or anything, but I've always talked about you.
Yeah.
And like when I used to hang out with girls when you were in New York, they knew about you. But also, I feel like, and me and like Gary, we talked about this before because that's when like me and Gary were like always together. And he was like, I was just like, yeah, I don't know the social norms of high school or whatever.
Right, because you're homeschooled.
Yeah, so I was homeschooled. So I just like, I'm like, yeah, why would I lie? Like, who are you talking to? Like, especially with the nights and weekend minutes, like,
right.
I can't talk to you at this time because I'm talking to her and she's 3 hours ahead. So I need to make sure that my time lined up where I can have a conversation with her.
Mm-hmm.
And some girls were cool with it. They were like, "Oh yeah, I like the honesty," and other girls was like,
Well,
"Yeah." And then,
but also, what age are you talking about here? What age? What are you talking about?
This is what 18.
Okay, so 18. So
17,
this is
18.
18. Yes, 18 was around the time that I knew that this was real.
Yeah.
This was love for me. This wasn't just hormones raging, because I already had the hormones raging, and I remember that was around 15, 16.
Yeah.
Okay, so but this was like, okay, I'm a little bit more mature. I don't know anything yet. The world hadn't hit me yet, right? But I was like, okay, this is real. This is when I thought I was really in love.
So the time I thought that I could go to the point where I was like, oh yeah, I want to marry this person.
Okay, when did you know you wanted to marry me?
And then looking back, and even how I feel now, you are the person that makes me move. And so it's interesting that, action is action, but you bring me to action. You make me want to do something. We talk about all the gender things, like the gender norms. You make me want to protect you. You make me want to provide for you. You make me want to support you. So those are the things that it is something about you and your quality. I can't put in specific words, but you do that to me. It's like almost like a chemical reaction.
Okay.
And I have met other women, and they've been nice women, but I never had that like wanting to do, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the main thing, and even to this day, you're my momentum. You help me move, and so like I remember things about you just like growing up. You're always like a challenge to me, and I'm like, but you were like, hey, and you always say that you didn't say this, but you was like, hey, I can't marry anybody that doesn't have a college degree. And I was set on not having a college degree because I was into stunts. I was going to be like TV and film and stuff like that.
I remember you got your SAG.
Yeah, I was SAG after. Like I was going to be full fledged.
Yep, that was it. That was
it. But it was like, oh yeah, let me get my degree. And that one time, I took a leap of, you called me. This is after you. So I knew it was real
Mm-hmm.
after school. After you graduated from college.
After college.
Yeah.
So I'm 21 now. I graduated and I turned 21 that same weekend.
So and you moved back to Cali for a year.
I did.
You moved back to Cali for a year, and that's when I was like, that's when the love grew.
That we were together all the time, nonstop.
Yeah.
I had a job dancing for Lula Washington Dance Theater, but I was driving to work. I would come see you. You was working at LA Food Show, or some restaurant, and so we were together. I was living in my mom's and dad's house, but
I was living at my
you had your own spot.
Yeah, I had my spot. Me and my big sister.
Yes.
So
year.
That year.
Yeah.
I was just like just enthralled with you, like just knowing, and like because you weren't it wasn't kid anymore. Like we paying bills and doing stuff.
Yeah, you was paying bills. I was traveling. I was still touring. I remember I went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then I got a job in Philly and I left again.
And the thing that really, and I think I said this in our wedding video, but and the reason why, one day you cooked for me. You cooked at home and you came to my house. And you made some like scrambled eggs and toast and some
bacon
and burnt bacon.
Because that was the
And
way my
yeah,
dad
your
liked his
dad
bacon.
your
He
dad
ate
likes
crispy
yeah.
bacon.
And I don't really like crispy bacon. So she did scrambled eggs,
But I don't eat
bacon,
meat.
toast, and orange slices. And let me tell you, this breakfast was not delicious at all. It
That's
was not
because I
good.
put it on a paper plate
Yeah.
and I wrapped it in
So you
foil.
remember this.
I do.
And I ate it, but it was just for some reason the thoughtfulness. Now that I'm a little bit older, or a lot bit older, the thoughtfulness of you taking your time out, learning how to. Because I truthfully I didn't think you knew how to cook since that Thanksgiving dinner.
He came to visit me one Thanksgiving when I was in college, and I practiced making Thanksgiving dinner with my two friends at the time, my roommate and a girlfriend that was dancing with me, and I made the meal before you got there, like a week or two before, and we were like, "This is delicious."
Yeah.
It was macaroni and
And
yams
sliced
and
turkey
sliced turkey. It was like deli
that you
turkey.
that you heated up in the microwave. That was like jerky by the time I ate it.
This meal was so bad. And then when he got there, I was like, I have a picture of that meal because I
Yeah,
still
you
to this
do.
day take pictures of everything. And it was
Yeah.
entered
So
in a bad meal, but yes.
the thing about it, for especially for me, and since I'm talking to my sons right now
and live.
it's the willingness to put yourself second.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to do that, but the fact that you are willing to do that at certain times and put me first, that was something that I really like. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be with her forever. Because I'm already, and like I said, it's almost like a chemical reaction. Like I just fit with you. When they talk about soulmates, I feel like you are my soulmate because I want to do for you. And that's hard because I know guys like my friends and stuff like that, and they're with women, and it's not like that, right? And they could be with them and they could be happy with them and all that, but like it's like, oh, how come you guys aren't married? And it's kind of like, because I feel like every guy needs that push.
Yes.
Every guy, even the most motivated guy, needs a why. And in some cases, like you're my why. I feel like for my dad, I'm not gonna speak of another man, but my dad, I've always known how much he loved my mom. And so I looked at that, and when you made me that breakfast and you were thoughtful, I saw us as like, okay, we could be doing this forever. We could be doing this forever. And so I knew it was real back then. And so when you asked me, Lindsey ended up that September. So she graduated in May. And did you go to Philly in that September?
No, well, I spent a year home.
Okay.
So within that year, from like May to the following year, around that time,
you left September 9th.
Yeah. So a little over a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, you say you left September. You said you moved to San Francisco, right?
I did for a little bit.
Anyway, so she went to, so that was a year of me being like, okay, I love her.
And then that September.
And then that September, the year after that September, you go to Philly.
Yes.
Yes. And how long were you in Philly before I moved?
That's a good question.
Because I moved in February.
So then that answers that, from September to February.
Oh, it was that short? You weren't in Philly that long?
Well, until I moved to New York?
No. So Lindsey moved to Philly and you were dancing.
So I moved to Philly and I was with a company called Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I was dancing and touring. And I remember being
And we made the decision to stay together.
We did. This time, I mean, we're past that now. Like now we're together. This is my person. To me, I'm like, this is it. So we are together. And I moved. And as I was there, we're making this long distance work. At the time, love languages were not a thing. I wonder when his book came out. If I
It
even
probably it
we
wasn't
didn't
in
know
our
about it,
atmosphere.
so I
Yeah.
didn't know that my love language was quality time. But I knew that I was done being long distance, and I was like, I need to be with he needs to be here. So I gave him. I was like, hey, finish up school. How much money is it going to take you to move out here and be with me? And he was like, I need $300. I said, done.
It was only 300.
I gave him $300, which was at the time my entire paycheck, because I started at Daco with $300 and then I got a raise to $310. But I got $300 and I was like, I'm giving him this money. He needs to move out here and be with me. And you did.
Yeah, I needed to pay my car registration.
I was like, because you came out there with nothing. But
I came out there with literally nothing. I was having a conversation with my next door neighbor, Marcus, and I was talking about just you. How old was I? Like 22, 23
now
at
we're
the time?
22, 23.
Yeah. And he was like, hey, man, if you move out there, you'll be out there, you'll be with her. And when you come back, we'll all be doing the same stuff that we'll be doing anyway. And
because you was afraid you was gonna leave your friends.
I left everybody. I literally went, and I don't even know. I can't remember if I told my parents like I'm moving.
Yeah.
I don't think I told the church.
Right.
I was like,
it was now it was kind of coming down a little bit.
I was like, yo, I'm not hosting anymore. I'm not the host. And then even when I went out there, it wasn't like, oh, he's not coming back. It was like, oh, he's going out there to be with Lindsey for a little bit or something like that. And from there, I went to St. John's University, and then
New York.
I never moved back from then on.
Yes.
Maybe 6 months after I graduated to save up money for a ring.
That was another issue because you moved to New York.
Yeah.
I was in Philly, and then you graduated, and you were like, okay, you moving back to LA. So I was like, I'm done with Philadelphia. I'm moving back to LA. Yeah. So we're gonna both move back. And in my head, so now we're 25 or something, and I'm like, okay, we're together. I'm just waiting for him to propose. I'm just waiting patiently, not pressuring him, just waiting. And then I got Lion King. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to move to New York. And he was like, well, I'm still going back to LA.
Yeah.
And that was when it was a real test on our relationship, because we didn't talk about, okay, what are we doing? We just knew we were together.
Yeah, we never talked about, in fact, we always said, like, let's not talk about these things.
Yeah. It was like, because the world is going to pressure us, and like for some reason our parents, like I knew there was always a service about don't shack up, don't play house, all those things. But when it came to my love for you, and we're still not having sex, y'all, so let's be clear, we are not having sex, but my love for you, we need to be together. So we just need to be together. We need to be in proximity to each other. I want that song, when I wake up in the morning, spend my life with you, Tamia, Eric Benet, when I see you in the morning or something. And it's just like, that's exactly what this is. So now I'm in New York. I don't actually have a place to live, but I'm figuring it out because I got Lion King, and it's temporary, but I got Lion King, and you're in LA, and we're not talking about getting married or anything, but we are still together.
Yeah.
Still together, still in love.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we're not going, the main question was like, when did I know it was real?
When did you know?
And time, like I said, time helps the case. So it's kind of like, okay, I have this thought in my head, oh, this is love, right? And then there's little things that support the case that this is love. And this is real love.
So is it gestures?
It could be gestures, it could be trials, it could be tribulations.
But I don't remember getting into a lot of fights with you. We didn't do that. I remember the scavenger hunt of year 7 when you sent me around LA and Santa Monica and all the things. I remember you doing for me that was very romantic, like gestures.
Uh
You said,
huh.
I remember romantic gestures, and people are like, oh, you need, the saying is the test of time
Hmm.
that's how you know you're when you've been through all seasons, literal and other seasons, that's how you know you're in love, so to speak. But I don't remember us.
I was like, really fighting, like going at it.
Yeah.
Uh, no, but there's also the years that we're talking about. We're also talking about growth. Like
Yeah,
I
man.
did go to college. You graduated. You got your master's. Like these are milestones
Yeah.
that we were together in. Like you doing what's it called, thesis, right? You doing your thesis.
I
That was a
was.
huge thing.
Yeah, man.
When we first moved in together, and when I went to Philly, like I was working the graveyard shift as a security guard, and that's when we argued the most.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was like, "Well, you came out here and we never get to see each other because I'm sleeping during the day and then stuff like that." Uh, so
Yeah.
like we did have arguments and everything like that, but it was more so like growing up and it still being love and not having like not being toxic, not being hurtful, not being harmful. There
Mm-hmm.
was always growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm saying that I'm saying it's real, and then there's always continual growth, then it remains to be real. If I'm saying that, oh, this is real love, and then after, I don't know, like after somebody has sex, they're like, oh, there's no more growth in the love, right? Or, oh, this is real love, and we move in together, and now it starts dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't think it's real. You could start off with the premise, but the time and like the milestones, because like in college, we were in two different states,
Yeah.
right? And we were
Yeah.
still together and we were still growing and we weren't fighting. Like you got mad a couple of times when I had to be in school and you didn't understand. But
Yeah.
there is, you just have to have things that are like proof. Like if Action, Shine, Live coming to me and was like, I love this person,
Right.
prove it.
Prove it.
Uh,
You would say, well, what makes you love them? Why do you think you're in love? Prove it. All the things. Like I agree with that because I knew that I was in love by all of the things we talked about, by me waiting for you, by me doing for you,
mhm.
um, by me allowing you to do for me as well. Like I'm like, let me see how he loves me. Let me see how he's going to take what I think is important by you understanding my dance, by you seeing that this is what I want to do. You're
Mhm.
like, okay, now I get it and I love her. Let me show, like, you were always there with flowers at all of my shows. I remember you coming to my Danko shows. You was there with my mom. You were like, this is important to her. This is something she
Yeah.
worked hard for. This is something I was there for your graduation. So we're there for, like you said, these milestones, recognizing that I need to be a part of their life through all of this. Like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe I got to take a back seat because she's studying hard or, whatever it is. But these are all, like you said, gestures of love.
Yeah.
So,
So my question, I'm trying to articulate it better, but how would you want right now at
mm-hmm,
age 37?
mm-hmm.
How would you want your mother to warn you about something?
Like if I'm going in the wrong direction
Yeah, if
and
you're
it's,
doing and she sees it
yeah.
and she's probably, it might not be her experience, but she's seen it before,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
Like I remember, I mean, it all worked out, but I remember when I went to go visit my sister in college one time, and she went over her boyfriend's house, and he was playing video games, and they had like two couches for some reason. So he's playing video games with his friend, and my sister was sitting on the second couch with me, just watching them play video games.
That was the thing, yes.
And in my head, I said, "This dude ain't right." You know what I
Because
mean?
you were like, I would never do that.
I would never do
I
that.
would never do that.
Yeah.
I would
So-
never have my woman or my girl or whatever
Yeah.
sitting behind me.
And this is my older sister or whatever, but
Yes.
I haven't said anything. I never really said anything, but like, how would you want? And even if I did say something, I don't know how she would have took it.
Right.
And
Because
so,
you're like, if
yeah.
she's okay with it, and that's the other thing, is like, if it works for her, if she's okay with it, it's also understanding, you know, how we've talked about this before, but when's a good time to speak? Are they receptive to hear it? Because if sometimes people aren't going to hear it anyway. But if it is a warning, if it is a heed, like, okay, you know, and I don't want you to be hurt, I think I would just start with that. Like, you might hear it, you might not hear it. I don't want you to be hurt. And like you said, like, yeah, everything could all work out, but if I could help you avoid heartache, right? That's a mother's job, and I think that's hard.
And I want you to be very specific to your mother, to grandmommy,
to my mother,
talking to her bubble.
So there's a difference though, because you're asking an impossible situation of I am not single at 37. So
no, I'm not saying. See, your focus is on the love thing.
Okay, what is she hitting me against?
And one of the reasons I asked about, like, how do you know love is real and stuff like that, because when we were younger, there were adults who thought they knew better.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we didn't listen to them. But sometimes adults do know better, and we should listen to them. But because we're kids, or even now, we're like now adults telling me what to do. It's like, I'm an adult. Like,
it depends, because I love listening to advice. I am one to, it's interesting because I'm not a rule follower, but I am an advice taker. So because and I think that's how you get wisdom. It's like, these people have lived and they understand. So let me take a little bit of that, or let me take what I think might be able to help me on my path. And I know where I'm trying to go. I might not know how to get there. So I will take some advice. So if they're trying to give me advice or warning me against this or that or the other, I think that I would be able to take that even now as an adult. Now, you what? You're specifically talking about love.
Yeah, but all right, because like, I'm thinking about, like, on The Preacher's Wife, right? One of your favorite movies.
Yes. And her mother was,
and
like,
her mom didn't talk.
She didn't, but she was like, Mom, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly. And she didn't. She talked to her daughter briefly, but she talked more
Whitney.
so.
This is Whitney, y'all.
She talked more so to Dudley.
Denzel. Yes,
yeah,
she talked to
and
Dudley.
She said, "Hey,
she
go.
Said,
You
she
charming.
Said, you a charming man. Go charm someone else now." Yes, she did.
And so my thing is, like,
but that goes back to, if you're willing to hear it, if you, because I can only do so much, and most of the time, again, case in point in this example, most of the time your kids are not actually willing to hear from your parents. They're just like, it's something about it. Same thing, vice versa. Same thing you said about your dad. Is he willing to hear from his son, or is he like, I changed your diaper syndrome? You know what I mean? Your diaper. And it might be, it's not going to fall on deaf ears, because I remember all the time sitting in the car with my mom, and she might have thought, oh, my daughter's looking out the window, she's not hearing me.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. I just might be taking it in at a later date, so still say it. And so I do think that, like, if there is something that I am warning my children about, and God has told me, speak up, say it to them, they might not think that they're taking it in. They might not think that they're like, oh, I'm not listening, but then when they're in that situation, I remember being in a situation in college and my mom saying, one, what is the perception? What will be the perception of what you're doing? Even if it's okay, when people see it, what is the perception? If you walk out of the room and you pulling up your pants, maybe you weren't doing anything, but the perception is, oh, she might have been doing something with this person. And then running from temptation. You're in a situation where it's like, oh, you think you can always stop, but if you are tempted, get out. And I remember these things. I just remember these factors and these things of her trying to help me along this journey of to, as you try to help these kids, don't get pregnant too young, don't do this, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are warnings that I heard, and they did help me. And
Yeah.
so we're good. But yes, in the moment, if I am trying to navigate and steer the children in a different way, I think I would have to give them like a worst case scenario, because I was one that was not motivated, but I was one that was steered with fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this because I don't want this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of the way that
you
my
could,
thing
you
went.
you could choose your sin, but you can't choose your consequence.
Exactly. So you can do it, but if you do it and this happens, that's on you. So yes.
I'm more so, I will finish with saying this. Like, action, shine, live.
You're talking to him now.
If you come to us and you are in love, I will be shocked because you are my babies.
No, I won't be shocked.
See,
they're supposed to be in love.
I just want you to know. I do want you to be in
and
love.
And give me my grandbabies.
Okay, not all that. I want you. This is your 37-year-old father saying, I'm gonna have questions. You can't just tell me that you in love without receipts. You gotta bring the receipts. And the heart is going to be hard for me because in my head, I am going to be like, they can't love you like I love you. Like, whoever this person is.
We just want the best for you. And yes, let them be the best. They need to love you. They need to do what you would do for them.
Yeah. So I just like, for the guys, make sure that she motivates you and pushes you and encourages you and makes you better and is helpful and supportive. And for Liv, he better adore you. All right? He better thank God for the gift of you interacting with him. Because you are all not to be too holy, but fearfully and wonderfully made.
Precious
babies. Our precious babies. So, yes, I don't remember if I ever like. I'll have to talk to my parents to be like, Mom, Dad, I love her and we're getting married. I don't ever think I had that conversation with
your parents, but you had it with my dad.
Well, I asked your dad for, so traditionally it used to be like ask the dad. It was more so
ask the dad what?
Ask the dad for the daughter's hand in marriage.
Yes.
And
I wonder if people will still be doing that. I wonder if people will, whoever Liv decides, to marry, if he will come to you and ask you for her hand in marriage. Would you even want that? So
with your dad, I don't think I asked him.
But you came to the house.
I more so informed him of what was going on. You get what I'm saying? Like, if he would have said no, if he would have said, I don't agree, it was almost like, hey.
Of course, but I think that's the motivation anyway.
Like, it wasn't like it's his choice.
But I am going to this person first. I'm letting him know this is what I plan to do. Yeah. Come on now with it.
Yeah, yes. This is what I was like, hey, I just wanted to see. I was nervous.
Okay, because I'm like, what? Get it out.
You know what's very interesting with your dad? Like, I'm outside the car. I'm like, and then I go. He's the only one home. I don't think your mom was home.
She was not home because my mom told me he called her. Mind you, we've been together for at least 9 years? 11 years by that point?
10 years? No, 11 years.
Yes.
11 years. I'm in Cali. I go. I ask him. He says yes. like he's okay with it, I sprint. And he actually said something after he said yes. No idea what he said. Like after he said yes, everything went into slow motion, and I was just like, "How do I need to leave before he changes
Your
his
heart was
mind?
pounding. Your
Before
little
he
baby
changes
heart.
his mind, I am out of here."
Okay, but would you want Liv's person to
Inform me of
Yes.
what's going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also would want Action and Shine to let me know, like, hey, I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how did I know it was real? When did I know it was real? How did I know it was real? It was a feeling, almost like a seed of a feeling, and it grew and it grew and it grew. And it what's it called? Now it's a wonderful tree. It's like an apple tree. And we got 3 little apples.
Oh man.
So
all right. Well, that's what we got. I like it.
Love episode.
Love. How did you know? And all the things.
How do you know that you love us? You don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What's it from? It's from Enchanted, right?
Yep.
Really, really love.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank y'all for joining us. Episode 2, season 6.
Mm-hmm.
First Comes Love, Then Comes Marriage podcast. Stay tuned. More wonderful questions. And yeah, let us know what you think. Instagram, First Comes Love, TCM.
Or you can always subscribe, share the YouTube, and that is at First Comes Love.
You can email us. Let's talk at firstcomeslovethenComesMarriage.com.
Talk to you Tuesday.
Talk to you Tuesday.